Hey everyone, and welcome. Today you're going to learn how to play aggressive junglers. Now, there are different types of aggressive junglers. We're specifically talking about aggressive junglers that are strong early game, but fall off late game. These are champions such as Elise, Lee Sin, Jarvan 4, Xin Zhao, Rek'Sai, and Gragas. We'll be teaching you how to play this unique style of jungling and acquire massive leads in the early game, but more importantly, how to convert those leads into victories despite falling off. And even if these champions aren't your playstyle, I highly recommend you watch this video anyways, as you'll have a better understanding of how to play against them and what they're trying to accomplish in these games. So let's jump straight into it with a challenger replay from professional jungler G2 Jankos playing Elise against Lee Sin. As Jankos begins the game, he chooses to start at his blue. This might immediately bring up questions for some of you. This is because we've taught you before how valuable the red side jungle is on the current patch due to Raptors and Krugs being worth so much. So why would Jankos choose to start blue, where he's going to get less gold and experience? Here's what you need to understand about playing these kinds of early game junglers. Farm does not matter. No matter how well you farm, you'll always fall off late game. Instead, you have to look at farming differently. It becomes about spending the least amount of time in the jungle as necessary while maximizing your time ganking. Still, that doesn't answer our question of why he's starting blue. Well, where you start will be dictated by what lane you want to gank early. In this position, Jankos is choosing to start blue so he can pass to the opposite side of the map and gank bot early on. Let's take a look at the side lane matchups to understand why he chose this. In top lane, we have Camille against Aurelia. This can be a volatile matchup where both of these scrappy bruisers will fight each other. On top of that, Camille has a form of engage with her E ability to help set up ganks. It seems like there's high gank potential top, which makes it strange that Elise would choose to start blue. Well, let's move bot lane to understand this enigma. Here we have Draven Thresh against Syndra Leona. Draven Thresh offer a lot of crowd control and engage to help set up and follow up ganks. Additionally, Draven is a very snowbally champion. We can start to see that we have two great gank options in both top and bot, but why did Jankos choose bot? It's because we're currently in a more bot-centric meta. As the game progresses, top lane champions like Camille will find it difficult to solo carry the game. In comparison, when you get bot lane ahead, you're getting two players ahead instead of one. AD carries also scale a lot better with supports into the late game. So this is the first rule of aggressive junglers. You need to identify what lane you want to gank early and start on the opposite side of it. So as Jankos clears his blue, he's going to watch the side lanes to see where the enemy Lee Sin is starting. Bot lane shows early, while top lane is missing. This indicates that Lee Sin is getting a leash at his red buff. This is really important, and why you need to be watching the side lanes at the start of the game to know where the enemy jungler is starting. Since Lee Sin is starting at his red, it means you'll be passing towards the bot side of the map, looking to gank them early on. This is just like our game plan, and so we can anticipate there will be a clash between the junglers on the bot side of the map. As we mentioned earlier, farming on aggressive junglers is about doing the minimum necessary. In this case, Elise wants to hit level 3 and have double buffs before she ganks bot lane. To do this, she'll need to clear 4 camps, which will be blue, gromp, wolves, and red. It's not about maximizing the golden experience, but rather minimizing the time you spend in the jungle and getting to your key level 3 spike as fast as possible. After red, let's check both mid and bot since we have the possibility of ganking both and see what we should do. In mid, we can see Twisted Fate is pushed up and is somewhat low in health. This is a definite gank opportunity for us. If we look bot, we can see our bot lane has secured a level lead and is pushing a big wave into the enemy's tower. Now, even though mid lane has a great gank opportunity, we have to remember the enemy jungler, Lee Sin, started red and is pathing towards the bot side of the map. With our bot lane being so overextended, he will definitely look to gank them soon. This is how we know we should be moving bot side, and Jankos does just this. Now, it's at this point he has two choices to make. The first is waiting in the river brush for Lee Sin to gank in order to counter gank him. You would do this until the scuttle has spawned in the river, then move to take it with the lane priority you have bot. The second option is more advanced. If we go back to when we checked bot, we could see a huge wave was about to crash into the tower. This is a type of gank we taught you recently called the tower dive. If you haven't seen the guide yet, we highly recommend you check it out. It's titled, Learn the Most Powerful Gank, the Turret Dive. If you haven't yet subscribed to Skillcapped, we highly recommend you do, to stop missing out on these essential guides which will help you climb faster than anything else out there. Jankos first moves in to see if Lee Sin is on his blue or nearby to turn the dive around. He doesn't spot him and moves to execute the dive. It's very important to note how Jankos likely only chose to do this because he's playing Elise. Elise has a unique mechanic with her repel ability that lets her dodge a tower shot and reset tower aggro, which makes her one of the best champions at diving. In the end, even though this worked out for Jankos, it was extremely close, and this is not a play we'd recommend you trying. Instead, as we mentioned before, waiting in the brush and river to counter gank Lee Sin into then taking the scuttle as it spawns is your best choice. After getting kills, Elise takes the scuttle. It's at this point she has a couple of different options. Tell me what you think is the best option. One is to take her raptors, or her Krugs, which are still up. 2 is to recall and spend the gold she has from the early kills. 3 is to take the topside scuttle. Which do you think is the correct choice? The answer is take the topside scuttle. Remember, we want to maximize the time we're pressuring the map and minimize the time we're farming our camps. Scuttles can be a great way of achieving this since they're in the river and quick and easy to kill. They give you a way to gain gold and experience while being close to laners to immediately gank after. So Jankos moves to take the topside scuttle and we immediately see his decision pay off. In top lane, we can see a big wave has crashed into the tower, with Aurelia being a little low on health and Camille being overextended. Moving to either tower dive this or simply hover in the nearby brush to protect Camille and possibly counter gank Lee Sin would be the correct choice. So Jankos moves top after the scuttle and he's able to prevent the enemy Leona from roaming top. Afterwards, he recalls to finally spend his gold. Now there's a new choice for you to make. Where should you head to as you leave the base? Well, we shouldn't head topside as we have no jungle camps there and our top laner isn't even in lane. If we look mid, we can see Zed is pushing a wave. We could choose to hover near his lane for a possible counter gank. If we look bot, we can also see it's pushing. We also have the option of hovering near this lane to counter gank. So how do we choose which lane to move towards? Well, there's actually two logical reasons that dictate the correct decision. First, as you should know by now, Krugs give the most gold and experience of any camp. If we head towards bot side of the map, we're closer to our Krugs, which we could take while being near bot. Second is that when mid laners are pushing, they're able to roam quite effectively since they're on the center of the map. This means a mid laner that's pushing, such as our Zed, can always finish pushing the wave and move to roam with you after. This is why it's the correct decision to head towards the bot side of the map. So Jankos does just that, heading bot, and we can see on the minimap that Zed is roaming with the lane priority from pushing in the wave. This allows his team to turn around the gank by Lee Sin on his pushed up bot lane, picking up several kills and denying a big wave to the enemy's tower and pick up tower plates. We can see how little time Jankos has spent farming, and instead his main priority has been to read the map and know where he should be, then pathing in the quickest way possible to get there. Great, so Jankos has a big lead, but how does he close out the game before he inevitably falls off? Well, firstly, he's going to continue to prioritize reading the map, executing ganks, and responding to fights over farming. For example, shortly after he heads topside to take the scuttle as it spawns, again using the tactic of taking scuttles to keep up and farm while being super close to laners to gank them, he then checks top lane. He sees Camille is level 6 while Aurelia is level 5, but more importantly, that Camille is building up a big wave. This presents a possible tower dive as the wave crashes. Additionally, something we've taught you in several videos is the importance of tracking flash cooldowns on laners. Earlier in the game, Aurelia solo killed Camille, but she had to use flash in the process. This was around 3:14, meaning her flash won't be back up until 8:14. If we jump back to our current position, we can see it's 6:29. There's no way Aurelia can have her flash back up by now. It's by knowing her flash is on cooldown, combined with her being down a level, and a big wave building towards her tower, that Jankos knows there's a great gank opportunity top. So Jankos executes the gank and gets an easy kill, denying a huge amount of minions from Aurelia. This is a great part of learning aggressive junglers, is that it forces you to practice and improve your ganking. Again, later on Jankos leaves the base. Even though he has his red and Krugs alive, he sees that both players are low mid. He ignores clearing his jungle and prioritizes immediately ganking mid. This allows him to pick up a clean kill where he repels to a minion into flashing in range of Syndra. This is how it works when you snowball with aggressive junglers. The further ahead you get, the less you need to farm your jungle and the more time you can spend ganking. However, you can't just keep going for kills, as that's how you inevitably give up shutdowns and throw the game. With the lead you attain, you need to start focusing on objectives. You typically want to begin doing this around the 10 to 15 minute mark. For example, with the lead Elise has given bot lane, she looks to take the dragon at the 10 minute mark. She then moves topside shortly after to secure the Rift Herald. Now with both Dragon and Rift Herald off the map, Jankos is free to focus on pressuring towers, which you can see him do by playing around his winning bot lane, getting a pick mid, putting down the Herald, and using the Herald to brute force down mid, taking towers, the inhibitor, and eventually the Nexus. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. What do you think of this aggressive playstyle of jungling? let us know in the comments section below, as well as any questions you might have. As always, good luck and have fun on Summoner's Rift.